My hand's stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like sort of.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Price, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
You're still muted. You know what to do.
Right. That's the best way to start the podcast.
I think
he's gonna have to jump out. Well,
yeah.
Or not.
All right, I'll be
there. You go.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's working now.
Sounds sexy as hell too.
That's crazy, dude. Well, that's why I had to jump out a minute ago, right before we started, because all of a sudden my StreamYard said we lost connection to your mic, and I'm like, what? And so I had to restart it, and then I hit go, and apparently I was still having some problems, but it sounds like it's going well. So welcome back to the show. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me are my good buddies Jaime and Blue. Jaime, how you doing, my man?
I've been better. I'll tell you.
Every week, man.
I know, man. Like every week I'm hurting, man. Like man. Today I hurt my back doing something stupid, which I shouldn't even be doing because I'm old as shit. So, but yeah, I'm in a little bit of pain. I took some pain meds, that way I can feel good later on. Or maybe during the live, I'm not really sure. Let's see. It's a gamble now.
Men your age should not be on trampolines. Big Blue, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I had to catch up on sleep because this morning I went to bed a little bit later after work. So I went to a school event at my daughter's school. They had a early Veterans Day celebration to all the veterans tomorrow. Happy early Veterans Day.
Yes, 100%. Already, it's Friday, so you should start drinking. I want to see those drink emojis coming out in the live chat. But unfortunately, nobody's going to be drinking tonight. Jaime's on pain medication, and Big Blue has to work tonight. And I don't like drinking by myself, so I'll just be drinking some water, maybe some vodka with it. It doesn't really count, right? If it's water.
Yeah, if it's clear.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
You can't smell it. Right? You can't smell it, so you're good.
Yeah. You can do this while you're drinking.
Whoa, thank you, Angela. $50 super chat right off the bat. I think we appreciate you.
Thank you,
Daniel Blue and Jaime, much respect. I'm covering judge goals. Some channels are not reporting on the doc drops and multi-lawyers fighting for RA.
Ooh.
Interesting. The documents are kind of different. They're to find. They're not. I've noticed when it comes to Delphi, getting documents has been one of the more difficult things. For instance, in Idaho, with the Bryan Kohberger case, you just go to the Idaho website and every document that's been entered in there is there. That's not the case with Delphi. So if you guys would do us a favor and send us if documents drop, or if there's a link to a place to get these documents, we'd appreciate that. Email that to us at drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com. Let me put that down at the bottom in the banner.
I thought I had put that banner up there, but I guess not.
No, it's all good, my man.
I'm liking all these emojis, man. They're pretty cool. And I haven't seen them all.
Well, there's some other ones. There's the ones that we put in, the one that says drink and 100% and the whole 9 yards. I don't even think I put the whole 9 yards, but I should. So Angela had asked, some channels are not reporting on the doc drops and the multi-lawyers fighting for RA. So that's what we wanted to talk about. We're going to talk about Delphi first, and then we'll talk about Idaho and Bryan Kohberger's defense. There has been some interesting stuff that's just coming out of Idaho. Let me just pull it up and we'll talk about it. There it is. Whatnot. So, Richard Allen civil attorneys ask Indiana Supreme Court for judges' removal and reinstatement of defense attorneys. So, just to kind of remind everybody in this case, Richard Allen was arrested for the double homicide of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. And he was arrested, 5 years after the incident had taken place. And long story short, he was appointed some lawyers. Those lawyers then, I guess there was some leaked pictures that were out, and those lawyers also had basically stated that, or pointed the finger at some Odinist as being possible responsibility. Whoa, thank you, Chris 10, for your $49.99 super chat. Appreciate
Thank you.
You guys are coming in clutch. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. So these pictures were released after the fact that these lawyers were basically saying that Richard Allen is innocent. They believe he's 100% innocent, and that there are a ritualistic group there in Delphi, Indiana, that are responsible, and in fact name some people. Now, because those pictures were released, there was this huge oral deal. A hearing was made, and Richard Allen's attorneys, at first appearance, it seemed like they had withdrew from the case, and then they filed some court documents as well. They want to actually maintain being the lawyers for Richard Allen, and they actually want the judge removed, and that's where we're at right now. And this title here is Richard Allen civil attorneys ask for Indiana Supreme Court for judges removal, reinstatement of defense attorneys. Richard Allen wants his original defense attorneys. They have chosen to work for him pro bono for free. If he signs something that says, if I were to lose my court hearing or whatever, and I'm found guilty, that I cannot appeal based on, them being his current lawyers or maintaining, their position as lawyers. I don't understand why that can't be done. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Richard Allen should get his original attorneys? And thank you, Canadian True Crime Buff, for your 5 Drunk Turkey Show memberships. We are actually going to do a membership show this weekend. Thank you. And we appreciate all the support that you give us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what do you think, Jaime, as far as Richard Allen's attorneys? Do you think that he should get his original ones?
I think so. I think so. And I think the whole the problem here is the fact that the judge already took the withdrawal from them, right? For them withdrawing from the case, and in order for them to be taken back, right, or at least represent RA, the judge has to either kick them out, right, or remove them and get another judge, or change the venue, right?
Well, the attorneys for Richard Allen, one of them stated orally that they were withdrawing from the case and would send something in writing, and the other attorney wasn't present, and they were supposed to have turned something in writing. Neither attorney submitted anything in writing stating that they were off of the case. They in fact went, and one of the more recent hearings for Richard Allen, both of his attorneys or original attorneys, Brazzi and Baldwin, showed up and were standing at the defense table. Judge Gold had come in and said, what are y'all doing here? What has changed in the last 12 days? And Baldwin had brought his attorney, whose name was Hennessy. And Hennessy basically stated that, his client didn't want to waive and wanted to maintain his position as Richard Allen's attorney. Mm-hmm. They had brought in a letter from Richard Allen stating that Richard Allen wanted to keep his attorneys. and that he was aware of the pictures being released.
Yeah.
So I just don't get why she's so hard on this.
I don't know, but I think if Richard Allen wants his original attorneys, if he feels he's gonna get a fair trial like that, that should be it, right? They should reinstate him.
I would assume so. I
And
mean,
just put like a clause, like you said, like if it doesn't, they can't appeal after being reinstated if they lose the case itself.
yeah, and here's the kicker too. The attorneys want a new trial date. So right now the trial's been pushed till October of next year. They want the trial date to be set up for 70 days after the decision is made on whether they're going to remove the judge or allow his attorneys to come back instead of moving it so far back. What do you think about this tactic? Does this sound like somebody who's guilty, or attorneys that are representing somebody they feel is guilty? Is this something that they would be actively doing?
I think, I think they're doing this as a tactic, more as they're gonna try to. They probably know, like, if it is him, and maybe he's talking to him and saying, "Hey, but I wasn't the only one. I'll give you everybody else." So maybe it's a tactic to do a plea deal instead of waiting so many years before the case comes up, and that way they can get everybody else. I don't know. I wonder if he's doing a plea deal. That's my thing.
Yeah, I think them trying to speed up the trial itself after maybe removing the judge makes it seem like they have more of a case of innocence more than a case of being guilty.
I mean, the fact that they're willing to work pro bono, work for free, and basically put their jobs on the line, put their license on the line. I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty big indicator, because basically the theory is that the judge basically let them off the hook, right? Kind of one of those things like, hey, quit before we fire you type of thing. That way you don't have this on your record. You know what I'm saying? And if that was the case and this judge was basically doing them a favor, it doesn't seem like that favor was received very well. And they're really going after it, so it doesn't seem like a favor at all. What do you think could be the motive behind why the judge is so adamant that they're not on Richard Allen's defense team? Could it just possibly be, Big Blue, that the release of the images, that alone was so gross, negligent, that it was deserving of them being removed off the case, regardless of the defendant's opinion or wishes?
I mean, it could be damaging to their case, and I would think they themselves would want to withdraw, but it's one of those things where they also have their reputation on the line, and they want to prove that, hey, our staff member did this. It wasn't us. We're competent. We can get this guy a good fair trial, and we know he's innocent of proven guilty, right? So
right.
I think they're just trying to prove themselves because of the failure in their office, which can happen.
What do you think, Jaime? Do you think that it's possible that what do you think about the tactic at all? To me, it feels like they're really fighting for an innocent person, in their opinion.
Yeah, you said earlier that for them to put up their reputation and their careers, and to work for him pro bono. Also, I mean, you got to look at it the angle they're going through, right? With Odinism, and they have what police officers, not police officers, but
corrections
officers in this. So they've been putting their reputation and their career on the line since that first came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that makes their client look a little bit, more like he's more innocent, I guess you can say.
right. It casts a little bit of doubt.
cast a little bit of doubt on it.
Yeah, I agree, that it does. And could it be a tactic to cast doubt on the situation? Like, let's just say, if they were removed and there was no argument about the new lawyers or the new attorneys, right? And they went off, they withdrew. Do you think that people would be looking at this case differently? I don't think so. I think the fact that they were removed automatically, covered this with some suspicion, a cloud of suspicion. What do you think?
I think the fact that I don't think I think there was more to it, not just for the leak of the photos. It had to be more because there's been a lot of cases where, um, photos and a lot of crime scene pictures have been leaked, even though there's a gag order. And I've never seen like the lawyers withdraw or be, their client requesting different lawyers or different representation.
Yeah.
So like it had to be something more to it,
Yeah.
And
And
the other thing is, the other question that I have is how credible is Richard Allen's letter? I mean, wasn't he trying to plead insanity and needing papers and all this stuff for him to say, I still want these guys to represent me?
I don't think he was ever pleading insanity, but he was eating his court paperwork. And it was speculated because he was eating his paperwork that he may be trying to use that as a tactic. But to cast even more doubt. So this Judge Gull, she brought in Richard Allen's attorneys in the chambers and spoke to them. And this is where she basically told them that either they withdraw or they're going to be removed for gross negligence. Now, Richard Allen's attorneys have asked basically for the transcript to be put into or sent off to the Indiana Supreme Court. And apparently she doesn't want to give it up. Like, she doesn't want to give up the transcript of what she was saying. I mean, let's read this. Let's read this first. It says, the Indiana Supreme Court has ordered Delphi murders case special judge Francis Gold to provide a transcript of the in-chambers proceedings from October 19th, where Richard Allen's attorneys say they were coerced to resign. Allen is accused of killing Libby German and Abby Williams in Delphi, Indiana in February of 2017. As part of the Indiana Supreme Court order, it gives Gold until November 16th to provide the in-chambers transcript and a response to why she does not want to provide it. Now, she's asked for an extension to November 27th. I don't know if that's been granted yet or not. But why doesn't she want to hand that over? Why doesn't she want a response to provide it? It just seems like there's some stuff being hidden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something there that's, they're scared for the public to know about. I mean, especially, it sounds sketchy already as it is, Yeah. The part that I don't understand is how were they coerced? You think they were coerced by saying either, like you said, either quit or get removed, right? Or were because like coerced for me, it seems like they're saying they were tricked into withdrawing. You know what I mean?
No, it's more like forced. So it's going to depend on the wording, I think. Like, for instance, if she said something like, you guys need to withdraw, and if not, I'm going to have to file a complaint through the bar and up the chain and for gross negligence, and they're going to have to do a review on this, and you could lose your license, right? And if not, that's one way of saying it. But if she said something to the effect, or they took it as her saying either resign or I'm going to have your license taken away, that's different, right?
Yeah,
that's more of a threat. And so the other one, even though the outcome could be the same based on the egregion of the crime, you can't say that without having gone through, the whole process. So I think that could be a situation where they felt that they were told they were going to lose, their ability to practice law if they continued in this direction.
Like pretty much putting them in like a catch-22 type of deal, right?
Yeah, yeah, and and that's 100% speculation.
Yeah.
I just feel that that's one way that it could go down in that manner. And then,
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
if the transcripts are not turned over, I mean, the best thing will be to change venues, or get remove the judge, right?
Yeah, I
What?
think that if she doesn't provide it, I think she's going to get removed,
Yeah,
and I think that
Yeah,
the attorneys will be put back.
yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
I think they're gonna have to go to the Supreme Court to get that hearing to be able to remove her. So
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a prolonged, another prolonged hearing. But sometimes they do quick ones. But
Yeah,
we'll find out.
yeah. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but like, I find it kind of funny that like they kind of were like they pretty much withdrew and then just showed up like nothing happened.
yeah,
It's like, what's going
yeah. They
on,
were
man?
just. But here's the thing. All right, so what do we know about this case? We know that there's supposedly a unspent round between the bodies of the girls, and that round traces back to Richard Allen, supposedly, right, from the extraction marks on the bullet. And we also
Yeah,
have his testimony saying that he was there. This was back in 2017, and apparently, from the defense, it sounds like, I'm not 100% certain, but it sounds like there was no recording of this testimony or statement, and the statement wasn't written down. And if it was lost, and they're only going based on the notes or the memory of the conservation officer after 5 years. So they bring him back in. He says he was there, but supposedly says he was there at 1:30, not 3. That he got there at 12:30 or 12 and was gone by 1:30, not there from 1:30 to 3:30. All right. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. First and foremost, I don't think there's enough there just based on that. Even if the round matches and he was there at that time. Now, you and I can do the I guess a timeline of events of when people saw somebody, and it could make it very difficult to explain why that person was there. But during a court setting, if the defendant doesn't go on the stand, he really doesn't have to explain that. The defense or the prosecution can bring it up like, oh, he got there at this time, this and this. And if he doesn't go up there, he doesn't have to explain what he was doing, when exactly he was there. So he kind of gets a little bit of an advantage because, if he was forced to talk, then it'd be easier based on evidence, right? Like, oh no, I left at 12:30, and well, there should be some evidence, whether it's cameras or whatever, of a vehicle passing a certain way at 12:30, right? Well, anyways, I don't know. I just think that it just looks funny. It looks all bad, and I don't think they have enough to even arrest him based on that. Like, they didn't find, according to the defense, they didn't find anything on his devices. They didn't find any DNA, no souvenirs, nothing.
have they said anything about his vehicle?
They didn't find anything there either.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing forensic,
Mhm.
whether it was electric or digital or DNA that connects.
Besides the unspent round,
Right. And I mean,
and by him saying that he was there around the time.
yeah, I mean, one explanation could easily be he was there at 12:30. He did check his phone often, and that he had worn the clothing that he was wearing that day a few times at the gun range, and that he has, to clear a weapon, right? So the way you do it, you go to the gun range and you shoot your weapon, right? Let's just say you have a handgun with a magazine, and if you don't finish everything, right, or even after you're done, you got to go back and you clear your gun, which means you go and you put the muzzle into It's like a little cylindrical thing, the jig, where there's a bunch of sand and a bunch of stuff behind it.
Like a center, right?
Yeah, and you clear your weapon, and then you lock it up, and you know, if you're a responsible gun owner, you would then, you know, have it. Well, let me rephrase that. It depends on where you're going to put it, right? If you're going to have it in your vehicle, locked and loaded, there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, if you're gonna, you know, you're just going out there for pure sport or whatever, then you know, you lock it up, put it in its case, whatever it may be. But you would, when you cleared the weapon, if there was one in the chamber, it'd come out, right? And so maybe perhaps he put it in his pocket while he was checking his phone. It falls out. Girls get on the trail. They see the round on the ground, pick it up, and now it's on their person. You know what I mean? They were both, you know, according to Richard Allen, and if I was Richard Allen's defense attorney, I would say, by his own admission, now and then, he was on the trail that day. Those girls obviously were on the trail that day as well. After he had arrived and left, if I was his defense attorney, that's what I would say. And I think it's possible that he is missing. Hey, what's going on, Diego? Hope you're doing well. It's possible that when he pulled out his phone, that he may have dropped around and it was picked up by one of the girls.
But the only way that they can, what they should have done at that time to disprove that is they would have to run the fingerprints, because there would be fingerprints on it on who touched it last.
Yeah, they touched DNA on the round itself. But they didn't say they found anything on that round, right? Only besides those stretching marks.
But it depends. It depends on how it's picked up. So if it was picked up by one of the girls, playing advocate here, 100% speculation. Let's just say one of the girls picks it up and is looking at it like, oh, look, this is cool. And they hand it over, and then they put it in their pocket. She puts it in her pocket, and then they're running through the water. Remember, at one point they're in the water, clothes are wet. You know, if it gets wet in that situation, and in the process of taking the clothes and putting the clothes on one, is it possible that it may have fallen out at that moment, you know, out of their pocket? I think it's possible. I'm not saying that it's what happened. I just feel that that's a logical explanation for it being there. And there are other cases where we're talking about certain evidence being left behind, where there really isn't a logical explanation for something being there based on all the information that we have. That's not the case in this case. There's very little information, very little that ties Richard Allen to this area and to the victims. And if all they have is an unspent round, I mean, like I said, I can come up with one scenario that's logical right now. Bullet falling out of his sweater after clearing his weapon at the gun range sometime before he went there. I mean, I think that should. What do you think? Do you think that's plausible?
It's possible, just highly unlikely. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Like, even let's say he did have a weapon on him on the trail, right? Itself. How long was he there? How long was he there for?
Well, he says that according to him, recently, I believe it was like 12 or 12:30, and he left at 1:30. So somewhere between an hour and an hour and a half.
Okay, so he walked the trail, let's say with a pistol. Let's just say if he had a pistol, right?
Uh-huh.
Why would he take a pistol to a trail?
I don't know.
I mean,
obviously the person, right? Well, the person that did commit this crime, according to the information that's been leaked, that there is a statement saying he has a gun. You know, either Libby or Abby said that on the video, and supposedly you can hear something that sounds like maybe a gun being, you know, the chambered. Yeah, that's a good word for it. So I don't know how accurate that is. Those are just rumors, but you know, if there is, you know, one of the victims saying that, and which I think that there is, and the reason being, and it's more than just the bullet, is because of the warrants that have been out. For instance, in the they've all wanted guns and specific guns. And so could it be just because of the bullet that they wanted those specific guns? Maybe. But it could be also just because they saw it on the video that the person was armed with a gun.
Yeah, I remember the first video they released was a longer video, I believe. I swear you can hear her say, "I think she has a gun." I swear, but, that was a long time ago.
I mean, if that one is out there, then I mean it's possible, but I don't think I've ever heard it.
I don't know. I just think though the fact that he said that he was out there and looking at the fish is kind of like the crappiest alibi.
I mean, it could be worse. He could be driving by himself.
Yeah, right. I know someone that allegedly that was doing that. But what's it called?
But
if he would have said, "Oh, I went to a trail to put in some some physical activity right in his life," like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out there with jeans, boots, and a big sweater. Plus, I'm gonna carry my pistol and I'm gonna look at my phone. What's it called? What was it? Stock exchange? Was it?
Stock trader, yeah.
Stock trader. And then I'm gonna just go look at the fish from up there, and then I'm gonna leave." I'll be like, okay, but why the hell are you gonna be carrying a gun if you're gonna just go and walk the trail and then come back out and leave? What's the purpose of him having a pistol? You know what I mean? I know a lot of people carry, but
Right.
I don't think in going on the trail and doing some physical activities, people are gonna be carrying at that point.
I
You'd be
think
surprised, man. Go ahead, Blue.
I think at that time, I'm not sure if it was legal to even open carry or carry. Well, it depends on the state. They had a concealed
I'm pretty
handgun.
sure they have some sort of concealed handgun license or whatever the case may be. But, I don't see it being odd if somebody's packing if they're legally able to. You know what I mean? If you got a license, you got a concealed handgun license, you've taken courses on safety and things like that, I don't see it being a big issue or a reason why it should be odd. I'll tell you, more often than not, many people I know are carrying more often than not. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but you have people like, let's say, like in your city. I mean, the population is crazy, right? You never know what's going to happen, what kind of crimes are going to be committed. But you have Delphi, which is a hell of a small town.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
they don't have
how much crime is happening at a little town like that compared to a city where you are going to be carrying at some point, because you never know who's out there trying to do harm to you or your family.
Well, I mean, it was in a wooded area, so it could be to protect yourself from, mountain lions, coyotes, wolves. I'm not sure what the predator species is out there.
Odinites are out there. One thing I do want to say is that's why there's a big crime spree here in Texas with big trucks, and especially like F-150s, because everybody likes to carry their hunting rifles around this time of year because they go from work to hunting, and they've been breaking into trucks a lot lately, man. Like twice in the last month they broke into trucks at my work, and that's what they're looking for. They just flip the seats real quick, see if there's a gun, and take off.
Yeah. I used to carry my rifle like around this time too, because it's hunting season. I would leave it in the back of the truck in the case.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started hearing that they were breaking into trucks and taking them. Like, hell no, I'll put it inside until I'm ready to actually go out to the ranch.
Yeah, they literally broke one of the doctor's back window, and he left it unlocked for the reason that they've broken into his truck like 3 times. It wasn't even locked, and they still broke the window. I don't know. These guys are crazy because they're normally locked, but he didn't even lock it.
Yeah. See, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's different reasons why somebody might carry. I don't think that somebody carrying is a big ordeal. Now, obviously, in this situation, somebody was using a handgun to control and maintain these victims, allegedly, from what we understand. We haven't seen all the evidence that's out there. But, like I said, I still think he had something to do with it. I mean, him walking into the trail and saying that he saw 3 juveniles walking out, and there are some juveniles that have come forward describing the same incident.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a photo on a bench nearby before that incident. And that has a timestamp of 126, which means that the 1:30 interaction is accurate versus the 12 o'clock interaction. So based on that puts him there. So I do think that he is there.
I think he's trying to play on, like, the memories of these people, the witnesses, at least, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to say it's 12:30 so they can make them, second guess themselves. And then they can probably change it out when they ask him again or something,
But I'm pretty sure if he was checking his stocks, it's on an app, and those apps keep records every time you open it. I'm pretty sure they're going to have that.
Yeah, but unfortunately...
How far back?
Yeah, exactly. It's like that was like 4.5 years, almost 5 years, right before they apprehended him.
Yeah, it was over 5 years. It was like 5 years and like 5.5 years. It was getting close to the 6.
Yeah, but like once they had like interest, like he was a person of interest.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how far back they go or they save that data. If you're aware of it in the moment, that's one thing. You can go and grasp that information or save it, but going back now, that'd be difficult in my opinion. But the one thing that really throws everything off for me or puts a wrench in it is the comments from Elvis Fields. Elvis Fields is a guy that apparently, according to Richard Allen's defense team, is a guy that had confessed to his sister as being one of the persons that committed this crime. He told his sister he was going to go away for a while. He stated that he had put antlers over or horns with sticks over the body of one of the victims' heads, and it has been, come to light that there were antlers or horns or antennas of some kind made out of branches over Abby's head. He stated that he had spit on the victim, and even told law enforcement when he was questioned that if his DNA or spit was found on one of the girls, that he'd have an explanation for it if he would get in trouble. Now, there's just a lot there that it just kind of points in that direction. What do you think?
Well, is he under investigation?
I think he was at one point.
Because if he knows all these details about the scene itself, is that enough?
Maybe. You see, here's the thing. I don't think that they have his DNA there. And so the only thing, and it could be because maybe it rained or something happened, or he spit on them with water fell, and I don't know. But for whatever reason, or there is a theory out there that law enforcement kind of effed it up a little bit when it came to collecting that DNA, that they either lost it or got it contaminated.
What about if he spit? He supposedly spit on one of the victim's face, right? You said.
Yeah.
What about if it was before they crossed the water? Maybe would it wash off?
It's possible, but like I was saying, there's rumors that have gone around because it was stated early on that they had DNA. That they had some DNA. It was rumored that they had DNA. And then it was rumored that they had lost the fingerprint, and or that the fingerprint was corrupted somehow or mishandled. And since there was no fingerprints found, some folks have been trying to connect the dots there and say that maybe it wasn't a fingerprint that was found and screwed up, that maybe it was some DNA. And early on in this investigation, there was rumors that there was DNA, but we haven't heard anything about DNA. And you would assume, given the probable cause affidavit, that there would be a DNA on there, just like in Bryan Kohberger's case. There's his DNA, there's a match. They talk about where they found it. So I would assume, that DNA would be a lot stronger evidence to arrest somebody versus, the markings of an unspent round. You know what I mean? And so that just kind of tells me it's not there.
Yeah, they're putting their money on the unspent round, and obviously they don't have the DNA.
Right. And so is it possible that they had DNA and it got corrupted somehow? Yeah, contaminated. Like I pulled out a it's an anecdotal, but there was a situation one time when I was a rookie. My field training officer, FTO, was we went to a burglary scene where somebody had broken into a house, and they broke into the back glass door, and they were able to unlock the door and made entry into the house. But they cut themselves in the process of doing that. And my FTO was saying, hey, this is a good learning situation. I'm going to teach you how to collect this evidence, right? And I'd already been taught that in the academy, but watch it again. It's fine. So he goes and he gets a swab and he puts it in the blood. He does one thing first. He does some sort of test. This is a very long time ago, y'all. It's like almost 16 years ago or something like that, 15 years ago. He first is a test. He put the swab in and he put some kind of droplet on it, and it turned purple. And he's like, all right, this is a presumptive test that says this is blood. Now that we have that this is blood, we're going to collect it. And he got another swab and he collected some of the blood. And he was showing me on the Q-tip there, or the buccal swab, the blood on the tip, like how much to get. And as he's showing me, this big ass drop of sweat comes off his nose and lands right on the Q-tip. Now, obviously, that DNA is no longer usable. And he told me, all right, well, this is how you don't do it. But if there was just a small amount of DNA and something like that occurred, they'd be in big trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So those things are possible. Those things happen. I've seen them happen.
Do you think the talk of DNA was coming off of that unspent round?
I mean, you would think so.
Yeah, like you think it was so little amount that once they tested it out, and then it came in unconclusive, and now they can't use it anymore because it's such a small amount.
I don't know. I mean, I thought there was going to be a small amount in Bryan Kohberger's case, but apparently the amount could be very, very small, down to a couple of cells. And the R and STR is, I think, replicate or something like that, which means they create copies and multiple copies. So they can turn one small sample into a huge sample. And so I don't know. I honestly don't think that there's the possibility that DNA was found, but that DNA was corrupted, or that DNA couldn't be entered because maybe it was too much of a mixture of too many different persons. I'm not sure, but or maybe there was an issue with the evidence, the chain of evidence, and they can't use it against them. So since they can't use it against them, we're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Now, the one question that I think about the Kohberger case when it comes to this type of evidence is the knife, the wounds. But sometimes, there's other cases where if the knife breaks or like piece of the shavings when you sharpening your knife, somehow get in the wound and they pick it up, and then they can even test it all the way back to see where it was manufactured. That's how far back some of these tests can go. So I wonder if any of that is any in both of the cases.
You would hope so. You would hope that they would take the metal fragments, because when a knife hits bone, it will deform the knife. It might be microscopically, what I'm saying, but there's going to be evidence of that. So when you go in and or when an autopsy is performed, if the knife hit bone, they're going to try to pull metal fragment out of that, see if anything broke, stuff like that. And if anything is left behind, then they can go back and check to see where that thing was manufactured at. But if you guys recall, we had a forensic death investigator on our channel who had stated that when it comes to knife wounds, they can be different because of that bone situation, right? Where if a knife hits a bone, it can manipulate the blade. And so a wound, that wound going into that person is going to look different than the next wound because of the blade being deformed now. And so those wounds aren't going to match.
Yeah. You know, going back to Richard Allen, I think the best bet will be, change of venue and then reinstating his lawyers. I think that would be the best thing to do, considering that way, we don't have to. Well, especially for the family of the victims, they don't have to wait until a year from now to start. By that time, it'll probably, we already had a verdict and everything. And get some closure,
Yeah, no, I agree. Tom M. and comes in with a $2 super chat, says, I think BK came in for one person and it escalated. Thank you for your $2 super chat. It's quite possible. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his defense and much more. In fact, that's a pretty good transition point right here. Leaving Delphi, which one final thing on Delphi is if they don't do this, if they force these new attorneys, which apparently one of them had some questionable statements about Richard Allen prior to him being appointed, and about how strong this case is against him, and which wasn't in Richard Allen's favor, which can be a bit of a concern. You're going to give the attorney that already has doubt in this guy. And then the other one apparently is Facebook friends with the judge. So those things are looking kind of weird. I don't see the Facebook friend thing being a big ordeal. I've seen prosecutors and defense attorneys and judges all be friends on social media. I don't think it's a big deal. What do you guys think?
Isn't it like the conflict of interest or something like that?
Nah, man. Like many times that they're good friends and stuff like that. The difference is they have to, work for the best of the benefit of their client. It's kind of like real estate. In real estate, you have a buyer realtor and a seller realtor, right? And those two people can know each other, they can be friends or whatever, but when it comes down to representation of their client or talking about their deal by law and legally, they have to it's called fiduciary. They have to basically be at their they have to do everything in the best of the interests of their client and not for themselves or anybody else. And if they found out to be violating that, they can lose their license. And it's the same thing there where, they can be friends and they can talk to each other. And in most cases they do, especially in a smaller town.
That's what I was about to say. Like this, even if they're coming from a surrounding town, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to know each other.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's a small town as it is, Delphi.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they see each other on a daily basis against each other when court cases, or they get put on the same, team. Sometimes they work as teams when they were in the lawyer field. So,
yeah.
And most judges, kind of depends on in Texas, like justice of the peace, JPs, they don't have to be attorneys, but certain judges and more the higher up ones, I could be wrong. I'm not an attorney, never was, but I believe the majority of them were like prior lawyers at one point. You know what I mean? And so it's a good possibility, given the size of the place, that they may have even worked at the same firm or something like that and have been friends prior to this. Yeah. But you can be friends with somebody and still do business. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I think they all like hang out and they watch the Drunk Turkey Show. That's what I'm
I
gonna say.
hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
this is
They
cool.
can't be friends with a juror. Yeah, that's true. Terry Blue says they can't be friends with a juror. I agree. That you probably can't be. I think that would be a conflict of that would be a conflict there. Big Blue, is my name visible? $5 super chat. Big Blue, what's her name? Say it out for everybody.
Lona Pear.
That's not Lona.
So
That's an I.
That's an I. Oh, my bad. Iona Pear.
Are you sure? That's not what I heard.
I thought it was Lona Pear too at first, and then I was told it was an I.
Butter sausage.
I think it was done on purpose.
Tom, a $5 super chat says, I think they should have discovery of the level of their relationship. If there is evidence that they have outside relations, it deem them a conflict. I mean, for the lawyers and the judge, I don't think so. I mean, when you go into, all right, I recommend you guys to try this. Contact an attorney from a different city, right? Call an attorney from a different city and ask them if they'll represent you, and tell them you'll pay for their travel or whatnot. Most of the time, the attorney is going to tell you no, not because they don't want their money or your money, and unless it's like a high priority, a high profile crime, they're going to tell you it's way better for you to go with a local attorney because they know the courts, they know the judges, they know the prosecutors, they know the defense persons, and everybody involved. And it's better for you to go with somebody local than somebody out because they don't have that favor. It is what it is. There's nothing wrong with those type of relationships amongst attorneys and judges or whatever, as long as it doesn't conflict with their judgment and or their profession. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I got a speeding ticket, and this is when you were a cop, right? And I was like, oh, maybe, I got stopped for speeding. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw Danny's name out there, see what's up. And I did, and he gave me another ticket.
Yeah, that was one thing I thought I had told everybody. If you get pulled over and you want me to do something about it, don't throw my name out there.
I got 2 tickets.
Just take it. Yeah, just take it like a man, and then let me know later, and I'll see what I can do. But if you throw out a name, that's considered very disrespectful. In fact, when it would happen to me, like somebody would say, "Hey, I know Big Blue." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy too. I don't like him." And then I would give him a ticket.
But I mean, they're not lying.
Like whoever it was, and including the chief. Somebody said, "Yeah, I know the chief of police." It's like, "Oh, I do too." I don't give a crap, dude. Like that makes a difference. Or folks that do that end up with more citations than if not. If you have a friend or family member and you want to get a hookup, it's probably best not to say anything to the officer. Just tell your friend or your buddy, and maybe perhaps they'll be able to do something about it.
Ever since I turned 18, I only got one ticket, and that was because I was driving my cousin's car, and his window tint was like super dark, and I got a ticket for it. Now, what the hell? Like, damn it, he just lent me the car so I can go to work because my car is broken down. So it kind of sucked, right? And I was like, all right, whatever. So I went and I talked to the judge, and the judge was like, you know what? That sounds legit. I'll just take it off. I was like, all right, cool. I think I don't have to pay the court fee, and that's it.
I got a question for you, Jaime. That citation you had gotten, was it from a motorcycle cop? I think it was, right?
Wait, the one with the tint?
The ticket that they gave you, that you threw out my name in.
Oh, I was just playing with. I didn't get a ticket. I was just playing with you. But I'm pretty sure that will be the case, though, man. Because
it's happened before to people that I know. But they throw out my name and got a citation, and it's usually from a motorcycle cop. They don't give a crap. They're the traffic division. They'll be like, oh yeah,
brutal, man.
Like I think I knew one traffic cop that gave a citation to his like aunt or something or his mom. It was pretty controversial. Everybody was like, damn. So you got to know who you're talking to too. You know what I'm saying? But let's transition. So there's a couple of things that are coming out in the Bryan Kohberger case. First things first, we'll read this article. It says Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger could claim in his trial that homes where 4 students were murdered was a party house, which would explain why his DNA was found there. Basically saying that, alluding that his defense is going to be he's been there before. Mm-hmm. He's been there at a party house. But didn't his defense team say there was no connection?
Yeah. So it's pick one.
Right. Yeah. You can't have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah, man. Damn. It's like you gotta pick one. Go route A or route B, man.
All right. What do you think, Big Blue? Do you think that he can say, I didn't know them, I never talked to them, there's no connection between us, yet I've been in their house for a party?
I mean, it can happen. It is college town, and you get invited by some person at the bar, some person at the store. Hey, party down the street. I've done it before. I've gone to strangers' parties.
That is the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened. But for him to say that, where would he pick up that night sheet from? Is the question. If he went to a party, because that's what he supposedly might have touched if he was there, right? If that's what he's saying.
Well, no. I mean, I guess the theory could be that he touched the counter. On the one day he doesn't wear his latex glove, he touches the counter, and when the real killer came in, the knife sheath grazed against that counter and picked up his DNA. Out of everybody else.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. Even if that was the case, I mean, there was just a random sheath in this house.
Well, no, the killer left it there, but is it possible that the killer came in contact? Let's just say he had the sheath in his hand, and Kohberger, went to the bathroom, and he put his hand, on a wall there somewhere. He was drinking. He put his hand on the wall to keep him from falling. So, the killer is walking up. He has a sheath in his hand, and he rubs against the same part of the wall, transferring his DNA from the wall onto his person, and somehow that gets onto the sheath before it's left behind.
So, you know what that is, right? That's
unlikely.
Very unlikely, and if it did happen, he's the most unluckiest person ever. That would be the case.
Well, I mean, the unluckiness just goes further, because what are the chances that he's also just going to drive a vehicle that matches the description of the vehicle that was driving around that night, and he just so happened to be out and about cruising by himself with his phone off during the time of the murders, and it's just a complete. That's pretty unlucky, and so.
There's no one on that. I thought I was unlucky, but apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I don't think it's possible. Big Blue, what are your thoughts on the DNA? Have you ever left DNA in a house that you had no reason being in? And
it's like, yeah, but
yeah,
I don't know what kind of DNA he's leaving behind.
Yeah, I'm talking about. There's beer in the fridge, so I grab the hand on the fridge, get a beer. That kind of DNA I'll probably leave behind.
Dude, there was this officer that worked with us one time, and there was a call for an alarm that went off at a residence, and so officers show up, and this guy walks in to the house because it had a open back door, and apparently. He clears the house. He then goes to the fridge. He eats an apple, right? eats an apple there. And unfortunately for him, there was cameras inside the house that caught him eating the apple. And then he proceeds to go to the bathroom in this house and clog up the toilet. He then left, and he got in trouble for it. Now, I'll be honest. This guy was he was funny. He was a great dude. He was very intelligent. He had a master's degree. People were like, "What are you doing? In the police department with a master's degree?" You know what I mean? But his goal was to go up the chain, federally, and he was using the police department as a stepping stone, which most officers do, to be honest with you. And he didn't get fired or anything like that, but I thought that was just crazy. Big Blue, is that something that you think that you may have been guilty of doing in your past?
No, I make sure it flushes. I don't leave no evidence behind. But no, I'll tell you when. I'll tell you one crazy story when I was younger. There's one time we were eating at a Taco Bell, right? We were just having some fun, and this random car, we were in high school. High schoolers drive by, and they're like, "Hey, we're throwing a party over here at this farmhouse. Just follow us," right? And it was a rainy day, so we're going through all these back streets to this house, and like I said, man, it was a crazy house party that somebody was throwing, and I always felt bad for that guy because, of course, half the people that were there were not invited. Everybody invited people, whoever they saw, I guess. So there's cases of beer, liquor, everything. So we had a bottle of Jack in the car already because we were gonna go drink somewhere else. And I was drinking some beer from the ice chest, and then they had a bonfire, right? And this was in Wisconsin, okay? So they had a big old bonfire outside because it was getting kind of cold. And then all of a sudden, you see a recliner in the bonfire. It's like, huh, where'd that recliner come from? It looks fairly new. And then this guy is all drunk. He sits on the recliner, right, while it's catching on fire. And he starts screaming because the flames start reaching his legs, right? So he jumps off of it. The whole recliner just engulfs in flames. And then you see some other two guys, like couch surfing. They stand on the couch while other people hold the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And then he threw the couch in the pool. Well, those were not old couches. So somebody took them from the living room. And just say the party ended after that. They kicked everybody out. So there was a couch in the pool and a brand new recliner in the fire, man. So
you know what I learned out of that entire story, Big Blue? Is that you would have been easily kidnappable. like just you're in a drive-through line, and they're like, "Hey, follow us. We got gifts and presents and beer," and you're like, "Yes."
Hey, we had beer too,
and butter sausage.
And my buddy was driving okay, and he got enticed because it was like 4 young ladies. Okay, so he's like, "We're going where they're going." I said, "I was like 4 was all right. Well, I don't care. We're going to a party. Let's go."
You see, initially it didn't sound like it was 4 young ladies. It sounded like a dude, like maybe in a van. Maybe there's 2 persons there. I have a strong suspicion one of them was eating a banana. Like it doesn't, it's not a pretty picture there, Blue.
I should have started when it was 4 young ladies, and we were all in high school. It was a cool party though. I laughed because I always remember that guy sitting on the couch and his legs like the fire just go up the couch side and starts burning his legs, and he just starts screaming. But instead of jumping off, he just sits there for a second, and then he screams more, and then he finally jumps off. I was like, "Oh my God, this guy's an idiot!" But he was probably drunk as hell too.
Nobody look at Blue's legs. He's got fire scars. Man, that's crazy. So, let's go back into this. Bryan Kohberger. The defense has come out with some wild claims. First, they were saying that prosecution and law enforcement didn't investigate Bryan Kohberger's family members that also came up in the IGG as they could have been suspects in the case. They looked at 1880 court law, and now they're saying that although, and this is possible, not I don't know if this is true that the defense is saying this, but it appears that the defense is possibly claiming that He'd been there at a party. Let me read this a little bit further so we can talk about it. It says here that Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger could claim his upcoming trial that the home where the 4 students were killed was a party house to explain why his DNA was found there. The former criminology PhD student is accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death in their home off campus on November 13th. Kaylee Goncalves died alongside her best friend, Madison Mogen, housemates Xana Kernodle and Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. Their lives were taken. He has been held at the Latah County Jail in Moscow, Idaho since January while awaiting trial, which has been pushed back after he waived a speedy trial. Criminal defense attorney Jack Rice says Kohberger's defense team could claim that the off-campus property where the murders took place was a wild party house where plenty of students would go. It comes after FBI agents returned to the scene to collect more evidence, taking precise measurements of each room for 3-day modeling, and that can be presented to the jury when the grisly case eventually goes to trial. Now, here's the thing. Pro BK channels, the set him free channels, are going to read this and say, FBI agents return to the scene to collect more evidence, and then they're going to stop. But this article allows for that to happen because they're trying to create their own drama and suspense in it. But this is exactly why people think there's so much mistrust and people think that there's so much extra stuff is going on. I think it also has to come more to do with the news media and stuff like that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's totally like misdirection. Like, it's not just the title itself is going to throw you this idea, right? That the rest of the article is going to be like, oh, they're going to look for evidence, this and that. But then the article's telling you, oh, if you read the article, it's going to be like, oh, they went to take measurements. And
yeah, that's the evidence.
That's the evidence that they're talking about. But like, if you just go by the article, it's going to throw you a whole different direction.
Yeah, and I think it just opens a doorway. Like, if we were one of these sensationalistic channels that are going to say, free Bryan Kohberger or whatever, I would say, boom, FBI agents return to the scene and collect more evidence. What evidence are they collecting? Could it be that they're trying to plant something? They should have found this a long time ago. Those are the things that you would probably be hearing, but in reality, all they're doing is measuring. Now, why would they be measuring?
I know the answer to that because they're going to try to build replica scales of the crime scenes. Because the court case was too short of a time for them to do it the first time since it got extended. They're going to try to build the replica scales in case the house gets tore down.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the house was said to be remaining until trial, right? But that's when trial was scheduled for October 2nd. Is it possible that look at the Richard Allen case. We don't know. At this point, it could be next October was when that trial could start. In the Bryan Kohberger case, as of right now, it's been, suspended indefinitely. There's no trial date. There's no nothing. And it has to do with all these motions that the defense is rising up and on all these questions that the prosecution and judge are trying to put together, right? Because basically, this is new stuff. The IGG and all that other stuff. It's new to Idaho. It's not new to solving crimes or apprehending criminals, but it's new to the state of Idaho. Tom N comes with a $2 super chat. It says, I think Papa Rogers may be a nail in coffin. I don't think so. Papa Rogers got a lot of things wrong. I don't think Papa Rogers was Kohberger or anybody involved. They also came back recently. They had re-logged in, I want to say like a month or two ago, and it was proven that he's nothing. He's not involved. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think a lot of things were said, but not only by Papa Rogers itself, but like through Reddit. You know, because like even on Reddit, there was a lot of things coming out, and from those 30 or 40 things that came out, like maybe one or maybe two were, you know, coming out that it was true. So like it's just like I guess the probability of it being true until like from saying like 100 things, you're probably gonna get at least one or two of them right eventually.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm gonna move some things around so I can see the chat. It's like at the furthest part away from my vision, and so I have to like strain to see it. So I'm gonna move some things around.
Yeah, like one thing I want to say is Reddit's not that credible. I mean, look, it said the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl last year, and look what happened.
That's never credible. It hasn't been credible since the 90s, the early 90s.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about this case. Let's open up the discussion. Bryan Kohberger is claiming that there's arguments there. What other argument is there for his DNA being there that you guys can think of that is logical, that makes sense, and also ties into the fact that he was driving around that night? You know, also like he left his DNA on something, and let's just go one step at a time. What is a logical explanation as far as why his DNA would be on there?
Well, I mean, obviously because of the party house, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously because of that, he could have easily been like, "Oh, I went to a party there once, and this and that." But even if the touch DNA would be on the button, I would think it would be on the outside of the button, not the inside of it, right?
Right.
I mean, it's harder to get DNA underneath that button, especially if it's clipped on. I would expect it to be on the outside or on the sheath itself.
Maybe. I mean, it depends. Like if he did handle it, don't you think the inside of the button would be the hardest part to clean as well?
Yeah, but even if that's the case, they already has said that he has no connection to them.
Right, but
even if he went for a party, like he's much older, he would have stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. Like nobody remembers him. You know, Jack DeCord doesn't remember seeing him at any parties. That was one question that I asked Kaylee Goncalves was, you know, had they seen him before? Has Jack seen him? Had, you know, Hunter Johnson seen him? Had any of these individuals who have been at that house, who were there the night before, who were there when the girls weren't there, like Hunter Johnson, you know, have y'all ever seen him? They're like, no. And that they said the same thing. He sticks out compared to who has been at those parties. You know, he's taller, he's a bigger guy, and he's much older than what, you know, the people that were at these parties. He's 28 years old, and majority, I think half of the persons that were residing at that house, you know, weren't even able to drink alcohol. They were under 21.
Yeah,
so
they were all minors.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, you know, Jaime, have you ever been to a teen party when you were in your late 20s, early 30s?
I just left one. Dude, I remember I got invited to a party, right? By my sister. My sister's she's 8 years younger than me. Right? So I went and I'm like, you want to go? We're gonna go, a couple of friends. I was like, all right. I had nothing to do. I was single. I was like, all right, whatever. I showed up and I was like, whoa, man, that's not where I should be at. So anyways, the police got there, right? The police got there, and there was like, I was sitting there and I was watching, the guys playing pool or whatever. I was gonna play pool or whatever. And then all of a sudden you just see it, boom, everybody just take off. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh, okay. So I walked through the front door and I see all the cops and everything. And I'm like, oh, we don't have nothing. I don't have to run. I'm not underage or anything. So I just walked in my car and I took off. I even told the cops, hey, can you move your car? And it's like, you're blocking me. I can't get out.
Luckily
I wasn't drinking.
Oh, yeah. Terry Blue comes in with a $4.99 super chat. Murphy was taken to the animal shelter. Why? I'm not aware of that, but I would assume because the dog belonged to Kaylee and Jack DeCore. If Jack DeCore was at the police station being interviewed very quickly, which is what I've been told, and obviously Kaylee was no longer with us, then where would you take the dog? Obviously to the animal shelter. You would call animal control, and it's not nefarious. What if some of their family adopted the dog before? There's a hold on the dogs before you can adopt them out. So just because a dog comes into the animal shelter doesn't mean that moment they can be adopted out. There's an entire process, and you have to give the original owners an opportunity to come and claim the dog as well. Allegedly, he cut what? Hog? I'm sorry, I don't understand that one, Tara. You might have to explain that one a little bit because I'm not sure. That's not making a lot of sense.
I said normally if the dog's chipped, they'll get the owner's information and they'll call pretty quick.
Yeah.
Maybe the same Bryan Kohberger cut the dog by accident. But,
she said she meant the keyboard, the knife. No, that's what they use to cut drugs with it.
Maybe, but
or are they using the dog to cut drugs? Oh my god,
that's what I said. That's what I said.
I hope that's not the case.
Hold on one second. So yeah, no, I don't know what. I'm sorry, Tara. I didn't understand that. Yes, Blue. What did you say?
I said maybe with a knife during the attack.
Gotcha. You know, the only thing about the drug theory, right? So there's a theory out there that there's some drugs involved, and we've heard, that perhaps drugs were used at that house at certain points, but nothing like to the point where people are thinking that there's some sort of drug angle and these people's lives need to be taken out. It doesn't make any sense. The reason being is Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, Xana, Bethany, and Dylan, and Jack DeCore, and Hunter Johnson, their phones were forensically downloaded and went through by police. That means they found everything in there. Don't you think there would be some sort of evidence there that would point back to this being the case? Now, I've asked a lot of folks why Bryan Kohberger, if this is a situation where they needed to frame somebody, why him? And what I've always heard was, well, they needed a fall guy. They needed somebody to arrest him.
That's my fall, guys.
Yeah,
I went to play.
Well, luckily it wasn't something more private, Blue, because everybody knows now that you're jumping off at 9:05.
Yeah, I gotta go to work tonight, guys. So I put in the wrong chat. That's why I'm not even drinking tonight. Dang it.
Yeah, get over Blue.
Imagine if you said something more private.
Yeah, no, yeah. Make sure you're in the right one. Tom comes in with a $5 super chat. The mention of the button and his DNA puts him as the perp that opened the sheet that contained the blade that can't be explained as other DNA can. I agree that the DNA puts him in touch with the sheath, and yeah, it's hard to explain. Trust me, I don't think this guy is innocent. But back to what I was saying, what would be the reason to frame him? And what I keep hearing is, well, he's a fall guy. He's a fall guy, and that tells me that, all right, if the purpose was to just arrest anybody because the University of Idaho was applying pressure to the local police department, which is weird because that doesn't apply to the FBI. Like, they don't give a damn about the University of Idaho and their money. You know what I'm saying? So if that were the case, do you think that had they had the right, I'm gonna put that in quotation marks, the right killer, that they would have arrested him? And and the reason why they didn't is because they couldn't find him. and now they have this patsy, right? Well, if that's the case, why would they not arrest the possible drug dealer that was involved in this case? Because I think there would be evidence there from the phones, talking about drugs. I mean, from way before there was ever an incident, there would be, conversations of deals.
Yeah, they didn't link anything to that person, and that
Right.
person probably has an alibi,
Exactly, and then you have the December 13th death of Bryan Kohberger, who, by according to the police, he was threatening his roommates, and SWAT went in there and took his life. If they were going to just have anybody to throw this case on, why not throw it on that person? Right. So this drug angle just doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't hold water
at all. There are so many holes in it that you're right. You can't hold water in it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And plus, Kaylee Goncalves came out and stated that the toxicology reports were released to her, and victims came back clean, no drugs. So, I mean, I don't think that there would be any there would be evidence of this drug angle,
Yeah. There's no way they can get rid of all the text messages, pictures, or whatever else is on there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, like, if it was a distributing house or distributing, because people say it's a trap house, and trap house sometimes they are considered like where they manufacture certain things. It would have been, DEA would have been up there. It would have been condemned. I mean, it is condemned right now because of the murder scene, but they wouldn't allow anybody in there, and they would have to specify like biohazard and all that stuff in the listings and everything. I don't think it was anything of that involvement.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there wasn't a party that night from what I understand. I think the party was the night before. But yeah, I just think that there would be evidence there pointing in that direction. Like, and it's not that hard to follow, right? You look at bank statements, you'll look at the surveillance camera from the next door neighbor's house. They're going to catch more than just a killer driving around. You're probably going to catch other vehicles going in there. All hours of the night, not just that night. There's going to be evidence there that's going to point to this house being, what you guys are assuming that it is. And so, just based off that, just thinking about it logically and saying, all right, if this was a drug house, there had to be some sort of communication. And why go to this point to knife 4 persons, right? Was it because there was the theory that Kaylee was moving and going to Texas, and because she was leaving, that they were going to do this solely because they were leaving? There's been a lot of turnover in that house. Tremendous amount of turnover. There's people leaving there all the freaking time. You know what I mean? So none of those theories hold water, in my opinion. They're just, if this was a movie series or a TV series of some kind, we can entertain those type of things, but it's not. It's real life. These 4 people lost their lives, and there's evidence that says that they may have gotten the right guy. We don't know yet. We can't put him to death or any of those things.
Yeah,
that's when trial comes.
There's way too many coincidences for it not to be the person that's in custody.
Yeah,
way too many.
So Mama 5 says they just seem too personal. So all right, let's go down the personal avenue. Somebody committed this crime. If it wasn't Bryan Kohberger, they committed this crime without leaving any DNA behind. Personal crimes or crimes of passion, that's typically not what happens. They're pretty sloppy. There's no planning involved.
There's no premeditation.
Exactly. So to go in there and kill 4 people without pre-planning it and not leaving DNA or anything behind doesn't seem very logical or reasonable to me. Now, if you add anger, you add alcohol, even if it was, for instance, the other one, it was somebody from Sigma Chi. They got in a fight with Ethan at the party while they were drinking. Somebody drunk, and a few people drunk, upset at a fight. The logic of them going into a house without leaving any DNA behind, it's unreasonable. Now you have somebody who took courses in forensics, who knows how not to leave DNA behind, who knows how not to take DNA with him from a crime scene because of those forensic classes. Now, I know that just basic police officers get a forensic course in that. And I would assume, I don't know, I've never taken the master's course for criminal justice, but I've never taken, and I've not taken the PhD program, but I'm pretty positive that they have a forensic class. In fact, I found it on YouTube where they're talking about it, and they're showing individuals that attend the Sales University criminal justice class on forensics. That shows them wearing, the type of equipment that would help prevent having DNA or evidence being, left with you and you leaving your own personal DNA behind. Somebody who is extremely intelligent. I mean, you look at some of the things that were done. We found a Chief Fry interview, or not interview. It was a a conference where he said that the rear glass door was open the entire time. I've talked with a couple of people who know some things, and they believe that the rear glass door was left open the entire time as well. It's suspected that the reason why it was done that way is because if the killer opened the door, then closed it, well, he's touching it twice. And then when he leaves, he has to open it. And, if he leaves it open, that's one thing. But if he closes it, then that's another 2 times. So if he opens it and leaves it open, he only touches it once, thus only having one, lowering the plausibility of him leaving DNA behind. That's something well thought out and planned. You look at the vehicle, based on his phone being turned on at 4:48, and you see the travel that he goes to get into Pullman. He does that, in my opinion, because that takes over an hour and some odd minutes for him to get from Moscow to Pullman. If police looked at this case and they said, all right, we have a white Elantra on camera, because he must have known that he was going to get caught on camera, that they were going to be looking for a 4-door sedan. So what would you do? Do you go straight to Pullman and give yourself up? Because if they go and look at the Pullman, cameras of highways coming into Pullman, and there's a white sedan coming in at 4:48, 4:50, 5 o'clock, that's going to look a little bit suspicious, right? So he takes this long ass route, so that way when officers look at the cameras, he's not there. That's well thought out. That's well planned. I mean, everything about this is thought out and well planned. That's why there's no DNA left behind. So, I mean, we can think about who it is, and we can claim that it's fraternity folks or all this other stuff, but it doesn't fit the bill, in my opinion. What do you think, Jaime?
Yeah, no, I think this is a lone wolf kind of deal. Like I said before, having more people involved would, there's a risk of getting caught a lot faster. Even though it didn't take long to catch him, he could have got he had a better chance of getting away with it if it was just by himself, in other words.
Yeah, 100%. And for the last question that we'll answer for the night, Angel D says, Mama 5 would like to ask why the hell he used his own car. Well, we've answered this a couple of times, but for me, it's all right. Why would you use somebody else's car? How is that a better idea than using your own car? One, where would you get the other car from? Are you stealing it? So if you're stealing this car, now you got to get away with 2 crimes: the theft of the vehicle and the murders. Are you borrowing it? All right. Where's Bryan Kohberger from? He's from Pennsylvania. He's new to the area. Why is he there? He's a criminology student in the PhD program. So who are the people that you would expect him to be in conversations with or be dealing with? Probably students from the University of or from WSU. And other students, right? So he's only been there since August, honestly, or June, honestly, or July. Honestly, do you think that, he's going to borrow a car from one of his buddies in hopes that they're not going to realize that there was a quadruple homicide the night that he borrowed the vehicle and that vehicle was seen on camera? Right? Because if Bryan Kohberger is going to borrow the car, that's one thing he has to think about. All right, so that doesn't seem logical. And plus, if it's somebody that's a friend of his, they're probably in the criminal justice program as well, or somebody that's close to him. I don't know if they would be willing to not follow the laws or the rules, you know what I mean, and cover up for Kohberger. And then you have maybe rent the vehicle. Well, I'm fairly positive that leaves a paper trail. If you go rent the vehicle, even if you were to go test drive a car and take it home for the night, some people do that. So all that together, I don't think it's a smart idea to take somebody else's car. I don't understand where that theory came from. But whoever said that, please go commit your crimes that way so you can get busted very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. This person apparently planned this whole thing out. And then you're going to go borrow a car and have a loose end? You know what I mean? That's like the crappiest planning out ever. Yeah,
for sure.
And then there's also someone said that the bus, but I think bus transportation has cameras inside of them, right?
Yeah, how are you going to get home? You're going to ride the bus back all full of blood?
Yeah, and like if it's like you said, if he stole a car, he would actually. Why would he steal the same car? That's his car.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, I mean, if he stole the vehicle, you probably aren't stealing the same vehicle as your own. But even if you stole a vehicle, you have to get away with that. Tom N comes with a $2 super chat. Says a white car can't be mistaken as other colors. I can agree with that. I mean, dark colors, blue, greens, and stuff like that are going to appear dark on black and white. Cameras, white will appear very white, but if you had like silver or yellow, it doesn't appear as bright white as just white on surveillance cameras. So that is true. And Mama says, but he'd know all that, wouldn't he? But there's no such thing as a perfect crime at the end of the day. There really isn't. And although he's smart and although he's trained and he knows things, he's not a robot. He's not a god. He's human. He can make mistakes. And if you go and you look at the Linda Lane footage and the probable cause affidavit, you put those two together, take out the audio. The audio is bull crap. That's all added shit. But if you just watch, what's going on, you'll see that at 4:05, after the DoorDash is collected. So I'm assuming there's probably some indicator there for the DoorDasher there. And once that DoorDasher left, that indicator turned off, whether it be a light or something. But at 4:05, the vehicle starts to act very weird. It'd been driving around the apartment complex without any interruptions. And at that point, it does a weird turnaround at 502 Queen Road. It goes and tries to stop or park or do another turnaround in front of the victim's house. And then it continues to go on, does a 3-point turn at the King Queen residence, and then comes back all the way around. Driving are erratic. There is a difference between planning a crime and then executing it. You can plan something, you can prepare for it all you want, but when it's time to actually do it, those are the times where mistakes are probably going to be made. Setting up his car so that way he wouldn't get DNA in there or out or cleaning it afterwards aren't part of the crime during the commission of it. That's pre and post crime. So the criminal is most stressed or under most stress and duress during the time that the crime is being committed, which is why it's logical and reasonable for mistakes to happen. If he's making the mistakes out, with this vehicle, and we find out that a sheath is left behind, those are some pretty big mistakes left for anybody. Right.
I mean, look at it like serial killers have been doing it for like 30 years. And man, these guys are still committing the crimes and still making mistakes. And you would think they will make the least amount of mistakes, but they're doing them, and that's how they get caught, because they get cocky.
Right. And memory, it's not just because of his education. That's part of the means. You have means, opportunity, and motive. And the motive right now is a bit of a question. Right. I think the motive was because he was having a bunch of problems. Right. He had gotten fired while he was in DeSales University as a security officer. He was forced to resign, or he was going to be terminated from that job. He was not accepted as the Pullman internship at the Pullman Police Department twice. He was going to be fired as a teacher's assistant. He had documented reported incidences with female PhD students, to the point where other PhD students were so concerned about his behavior, they began to document his disturbing behavior leading up to the murders. I mean, there's more to it than just it's because of his education. There's more to it. I'm just saying that you have the means, like the ability to commit this crime. A drunk college kid or a drug out addict or a drug dealer, in my opinion, don't fit the means of committing the perfect crime in the heat of passion or anger, because those things don't happen ever. If I had a mic, I'd drop it. Hyman, do you have any final words for everybody before we let everybody go?
My back hurts. Oh, no, I was just gonna say, like, every time I stop the camera, it's because I'm stretching my back, man. It's kind of this angle where I'm sitting at is kind of just messing with me.
Yeah, but
it is what it is, and I'm getting old, and everything hurts now.
Yeah,
baby aspirin. Yeah,
baby aspirin for the win. Lurking Around. I have not seen that movie, but I would recommend Mr. Brooks if you want to watch a movie that might kind of give you an idea of maybe of what I see or think of. But thank you guys. No. It's with Kevin Costner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what was that actor's name? He was a comedian. I can't remember. Dan Cook. I think that's who it is. I could be wrong. Yeah, that dude.
I don't think that's right, but okay.
Yeah, Mr. Brooks. Go look it up. It's good. It's a good movie. I like it. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.